welcome to another Facehammer Age of Sigmar free or hashtag new AOS video. And today we are going to talk about command points.
This one's going to be a biggie, isn't it?
Yes, it's important. It's a big change. We marked it as our number 3 on our top 10. So I wanted to talk
after winning the game and building an army, so it's still pretty important, right?
Pretty important, right?
Yeah.
So this is a huge change to the game. So, like, as you may know from building your army, you no longer get a command point just for, putting formations in, because you can't put War Scroll battalions in anymore. And there's some ways to get extra command-like abilities. But we want to talk about the command points, how you get them, who can issue abilities, and how, and some of the restrictions. Talk through the abilities, which are scattered throughout the book in a very nice fashion. So in relevant places, but I would recommend to anyone who's playing is to have a cheat sheet with the command abilities in a list. We'll probably make something and make it available. Because it's quite useful to have in front of you to know what you can do in each phase. So command points, you will go to section 6. It's in a little pink box out, and it says that basically you receive command points at the start of the battle round after priority is determined, and it says C4.1 to how you do priority. We're not going to talk about that now. If your general's on the battlefield, you receive 1 command point. At the end of the battle round, any command points that have not been used are lost. So you use them in the battle round, you don't get to keep them.
Don't let your general die.
No. So if you go second, you get 2. If you go first, you get 1. But what's interesting here is if your general's on the battlefield at the start of the hero phase, that is both players' hero phase, not just your hero phase. So if, for example, me and Byron are playing a game, you're going first, you'll get 1, I'll get 2.
1, you get 2.
You get your hero phase. We both get 1 if our generals are alive.
Yeah.
Then there's heroic action. We can generate a command ability if we take that action on a 4+.
Yeah.
If your general's already dead, you do it on a, I think it's on a 2+. But you wouldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't get the 1 for having a general because he's not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some armies have multiple generals. You still only get 1. It's not per general.
Horse on there.
Yeah. So you then get 6.1 using them. So you must spend a command point, pick a friendly model to issue it, and pick a friendly unit to receive it. The models that can issue are as follows. So you've got unit champions to their own unit, which is a change.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cool. It's quite useful. Also means anything that can snipe a champion is quite good.
Yeah, and also some units don't have champions, which feels weird. So, I guess now it makes a bit more sense, right? If you're like, why does this have that? Why doesn't it have that? And some units are gonna.
Do Felbats have a champion? I don't think they do they?
They don't
champion
have any.
Bat. Like he's got the bigger fangs. He's definitely.
And Russ a little troll about the poor Felbats earlier.
I know. Eek,
yeah.
Heroes can issue commands to units that are wholly within 12. Generals can issue commands to units that are wholly within 18. Totems can issue commands to units that are wholly within 18. Now, the next bit is quite important. Each command ability will say when it can be used and what effect it has on the unit, obviously. A model cannot issue more than 1 in the same phase, and a unit cannot receive more than 1 in the same phase. In addition, you cannot use the same ability more than once in the same phase, even for different units. So,
resource management.
So unpack that. Inspiring Presence. 1 unit only.
Yeah.
If you have 2 abilities that are called different things that do the same thing, that is completely fine. So some scrolls, when you read books, they'll say, well, that's just Inspiring Presence. I don't know why they've got that. Well, now it actually makes a difference.
Okay, cool.
You cannot give the same unit 2 buffs from a command ability. So when you're playing Khorne and you're going, I'm going to do my pile-in from 6 away and I'm going to use my Reaper of Vengeance to fight twice. Nah. Because that's 2 command abilities.
Yeah. And if your general wanted to make someone immune to battle, it's the same phase. So if they wanted to, I don't know, buff someone else's attack and then also somehow buff theirs, that you'd have to pick one or the other.
Yeah, so you couldn't do like all-out attack on 2 units because you've already used all-out attack. But you could do all-out attack and all-out defense on 2 different units, but not from the same model.
As long, okay.
And you can't do them on the same unit.
Okay, yeah. It's all, none of it's too complex, but people are going to get caught out at the point at which they get caught out.
And what you'll find is a lot of people, when they look at the command abilities, they go, oh, you just do this, 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 and it's amazing. And you're like, yeah, but you can't do that because 1, you're not going to have 4 things around it to issue it. 2, you're not going to be able to do it all in the same phase. And 3, you've already used it on that other unit, so you can't do it. So
L buffs are going to become more important than potentially for some armies.
Or abilities that are not command abilities.
Yeah, okay.
And likewise...
Don't worry, you can just use all your battalion rules. Oh, no, you can't.
But the other things that will be quite strong are command abilities that activate in, say, the hero phase, but give you a combat boost.
Yeah, okay.
Because when you get to the combat phase, you haven't issued it in the combat phase, you issued it in the hero phase.
Yeah.
So
you just got some rules.
That unit hasn't technically received a command ability that phase, so you can then just put a different one on.
Mm-hmm.
So things like Manfred and Nefrata's bubble activate in the hero phase to your next hero phase.
Nice.
Pretty powerful, right? So they're going to be quite good. So there's lots of them in the game. There's lots of, particularly the Death faction, which kind of makes sense that their heroes are like, the best.
All singing, all dancing,
so the best.
Trying to polish their little zombie turds.
The best
of their ability.
The best. We're all hail Nagash. So yeah, it's pretty good. So that's really cool. Obviously, if you want to stack multiple command abilities on 1 unit in combat, you can't do that anymore. So you've got to be really careful on that sequencing. But like I say, a spell or an ability is not a command ability, so that's fine. And some stuff is done off a different phase that then applies in a future phase. So,
or it's done to your opponent's unit. So instead of buffing your unit, you're making it. Yeah. Okay, so again, some stocks and shares here, like some things that weren't so good in the past might be better now because it means that you get like a 1.5 buffs, but you couldn't have 2 or whatever. So that's kind of cool.
We've also got the generic abilities scattered throughout the book in the phase they can be used. So we're going to go through them. So we've got Rally at the bottom here of the page under the hero phase. You can use this command ability at the start of the hero phase. The unit that receives it must be more than 3 from all enemy units. So I did cover this on the preview show because it was done on an article. Roll 1 dice for each slain model. For each 6, return 1 model to the unit.
Can you define slain model for me there in that context? I mean, that died that turn, that was in there at the beginning. What does it mean?
The way that I interpret it is if you had a unit of 20 something at the start of the game, and then 15 died over different turns, maybe some died for running away or coherency. When you do Rally, you'd roll 15 dice.
Cool.
It's there. I'm not sure it's explicitly that clear on how it works with things like pink horrors, because pink horrors just ruin everything. And I've seen lots of people talking about what about models that have died and come back and then died again and then gone to the supermarket and then practically, if you play it like, how many did I start the game with? How many are there now? What's the difference? Roll that many dice. That's how I would do it. That's the most sensible way of doing it.
So everyone gets to be zombies a little bit, kind of.
Yeah.
So quite
good because like you could do that on Chaos Knights.
I was just going to say you could get back some tasty stuff if you don't have something else to spend your command point on. Yeah. Dracoff.
Fiends. Dracoffs. Anything in the game that's more than 1 model.
A load of units as well, and this has never been a thing before. You already said Fiends. Fiends have got a buff for having 4 or more. So if 1 died, and you get to roll, let's say you had a unit of 6, went down to unit 3, you roll your 3 dice, 50% chance there of getting back a dude and being -1 to hit and -1 to wound, which is pretty cool.
And if you're like Sean and you've got loads of those face hammer dice, you just pop those triple face hammers and just put 3 Fiends back on.
Yeah, horrible thing.
I actually played a playtest game against one of the playtesters who was using Chaos Knights, and I was using Bone Reapers, and I did my death healing. And in my hero phase, because it doesn't say your hero phase, it says the hero phase, he rolled 5 dice for his Chaos Knights and popped 3 6s. And I was like, you've out-healed me in my own turn. This is not on.
When you're not undead.
This is rubbish.
Yeah, I think if people have got CP going spare and you've got an average to good unit, that's a huge thing for armies to suddenly be able to get models back. That's mental.
Yeah. And it might even be that you've got a unit on an objective. I mentioned this, like you got the when the battle comes down to the 5 Judicators battling the 10 Direwolves, and the Direwolves are down to 4 models, and then they heroically roll 6 dice and pop a couple 6s, then outnumber the Judicators and take the objective for the win. That's the kind of like, that's when the Doom Wolf becomes MVP, right? It's the
it is. Also, that there's going to be less large units on the table now. So the time you do that, on your whatever it is, I don't know, you had 15 brutes or something, and there's 3 left, and you roll 12 dice, and somehow you bring back 5. Oh, you're going to bring back like 5 dudes.
Is you're outside of 3, right? Because you can't be in combat, so you can't So you could be outside of combat. Say you've just gone in with your big brute unit. I see use brutes because they're cool, right? They've just killed a unit. It goes into your opponent's turn, and you go, right, I'm going to rally in your turn. You roll the dice, pop a few 6s.
Oh, it's grim, isn't it?
Then they charge you, whatever. Well, they don't go. They go, I can't get to him yet. And then you have your go. Then you do it again. Just gonna do it again. Just gonna keep rallying.
Sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's expensive resource wise, and I did it and I didn't roll any 6s, and it really feels bad because you've spent a command point and you've got nothing.
Yeah, you're gonna even out more on worse units for this, aren't you? The units you really want it for, you're probably going to be rolling 4 dice, and then the units where it doesn't matter so much, you're going to be rolling for like 25 night goblins or something.
If anyone wants to be a death army, this is your chance. But death can use it too, right? So if you've got a big blob of skellies, down to like your few models, you can try and rally them up, and it's a start. So you could choose the sequencing on that for stuff. So it's quite it's quite good. I like rally a lot. I
think it's really good.
Yeah. That also means when you want to retreat out of combat of that unit to like score the objective, sometimes you might go, actually, I don't want to give them a rally chance.
Oh yeah. Those models that you put back when they do heal, I presume they're sensible restrictions. For
they're so in this edition, so we can talk about it now because we're sort of talking about it. I got to find the page. There we go. I've gone at 14.2.1, returning slain models. So it says some abilities allow you to return slain models to a unit. Set the models at 1 at a time within 1 inch of a model from their unit that was not returned to the unit earlier that phase.
So you're going to have to blob it round.
You can't string. Slain models can only be set within 3 of an enemy unit if a model in the unit they're returning to that was not returned is already within 3 of the enemy unit.
In terms of rally, impossible. That's nice.
So basically, you can't tag into combat and you can't string. So if you've got down to 4 models, you're restricted on just around that 1 inch of there. And obviously, like
jamming a load of dudes,
you've got to be quite careful as well because sometimes your bases just won't allow you to do it.
I was going to say,
if you've got enemy units near you, particularly if you just retreat just out of combat or whatever, or you've removed your casualties cleverly to drop out of combat, you're not going to lose. Yeah, if you're being really cute.
Okay, I like that. That's one of my favourite things I've seen so far, I think.
So movement phase, we've got at the double. This is literally just your run roll is a 6. Mm-hmm. So one key change in this edition that I'll talk about now, because we're talking about running, is the move. In the old edition, a move was a move. So if it's a run, a pile in, it's all a move, right? Not anymore. There's a normal move, there's a retreat move, and a run move.
Oh, I'm so down. I could not be more down.
Distinct things. So when we look at Blood Knights and their ability, Yeah, this is why it works
Their
in
poo
AOS3.
ability.
It works in 3, it doesn't work in 2. Now I can finally talk about it. So in 3, it's really hard when you got to do a show and people are like, well, I don't think their ability works. And you're like, it does, just not in this edition. Yeah, so a normal move, because their ability says you can make a normal move, that is not a retreat.
Got you.
So if it allows you to, an ability allows you to do a normal move out of combat, that is not a retreat move. So that means they can then charge again. So that basically means Blood Knights can do their mortal wounds, back up, charge, get their lance bonus every turn.
Do the okie dokie.
So it actually makes them scary as hell, right?
Sweet. No, that's I'm down.
Plus you can rally them.
Make a bit more. They make a bit more sense. Oh, rallying. Yeah,
rallying your Blood Knights. It's a shame
fight.
I don't have a 2-inch reach, but you can't have everything.
So we've had out the double, which is something that already existed before. What does redeploy do then? Because it sounds more exciting.
This is going to be the interaction in the movement phase. Okay, so you use this in the enemy movement phase. After an enemy unit finishes a normal move, run, or retreat, the unit that receives the command must be within 9 of the enemy unit that was that's just done the move, basically, and more than 3 from enemy units.
So not combat. Okay.
You can make a D6-inch move with that unit. So you can move your unit in their movement phase.
Which could take you outside of charge range.
But you can't shoot.
Make them restricted or whatever.
So they could move within 3 of you. You could go, I'm going to redeploy, move D6 inches backwards, turn that 3-inch charge into a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-inch charge.
Yeah. Cannot shoot later in the turn. I presume we're going to hit on something that makes that make sense fairly shortly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So redeploy is one of those things that you'll move a unit and you'll forget, and then they'll go, I'm redeploying, haha, I got you. So I think a lot of the time you sort of would say, are you happy with there because I could redeploy, you want to be there? And they'll go, oh yes, no, actually I'll back up. So actually there's an element of psychology.
Once.
Yes.
So they can only use it once though, so you can't have this endless cascade of no.
It costs a command point, you only use it once on one unit, and inevitably you roll a 1 every time. Because it's D6 inches.
So some very rare instances in the game have things that would interact with that, like in the Iron Jaws book. It's like a charge on its charge reaction, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's different.
You're just moving. Yeah. So you literally you're moving in their movement phase. So it allows you to reposition. So it might be what you can do. One of the most useful ways of doing it is, do you know, in the old game where you had an objective and someone would move just within range of 1 more model than you, and you've got a unit here, but you've only got 4 men in range.
Yeah.
You then go, I'm going to redeploy that unit, pop your dice, and then your minds shift. They can't then move that unit again. They've already finished that move because they've moved it and said, I'm happy with their position. You've redeployed. They can't then readjust that movement. So if they've only put just enough models in range and you've got a command point, you go, I'm going to redeploy. Then you just stop the objective being taken.
Yep.
That's like one of the other way things you can do is stuff like you can do stuff like readdress your screening.
I was going to say you could put something over here still away from this thing that blocks a more important thing from getting charged or something.
So you could close a gap. So you might just actually I'll shift sideways to stop that charge going through that gap that's now been left because you killed them or whatever in the previous turn.
It'd be easier to reshuffle if I don't know. Let's say you had some 2-inch reach weapons at the back or something like that. There's various different things you could do within a movement, I guess.
Yeah. There is certain important rule about piling in, which probably should be. I'll talk about in another video, but there you go.
Okay.
So let's not ruin it. Stay on target. Let's don't turn off your
Let's go forward to victory, Russ.
Yeah, we will when I find it. Lots of movement stuff. So shooting phase. Okay. So there's 2 you can use in the shooting phase and the combat phase, which are covered when they talk about making attacks. So they're not listed here, but we'll skip that and go to the charge phase because it's quite interesting. Okay. So you got forward to victory. This is not interesting. This is just reroll your charge. So
Could be interesting.
Well,
But
it's
not
what
new.
we know. It's not new, is it?
Yeah.
Come on. The other one, and I touched on this in a previous video, is Unleash Hell. So this allows you. This is basically to old Hammer people. This is standard shoot. So it's
Or
quite
Overwatch.
but there's a lot of restrictions that aren't immediately apparent.
Okay.
So you use it after an enemy unit finishes a charge. The unit that receives it must be within 9 of that enemy, more than 3 from all other enemies. So if they get charged, they can do it into the unit that charged them. The unit that receives the command can shoot in that phase, but when it does, you must subtract 1 from the hit rolls, and it can only target the unit that made the charge move. Okay, so this is significant.
Can you shoot in that phase, not instantly?
Oh, you shoot. Yeah, you shoot in that phase, but you just shoot. Yeah. So they move their models.
Yeah.
You go Unleash Hell, you shoot, but you can't shoot something else. You have to shoot what's charged. Because the timing is that after an enemy unit finishes a charge move. Okay. The importance is if you charge something and you don't put any models within 9 of that shooting unit, and you then pile into something within 9, that's not charging.
Okay.
So you could charge, like if you imagine like they've got a unit of shooters, you've got a block of guys, you charge here, stay just outside of 9, and then when you pile in like that. You can't hit the shooters, but you don't get stunned and shot against, right?
Yeah.
The other thing you can do is do one of those funky units that can pile in from 6 away. So you can run, then in the combat phase you just pile in. That's not charging, so they can't shoot you either.
Yeah. Zombies.
The third thing is where Felbats become amazing.
It was going to happen at some point.
It's going to happen, right?
That war scroll had, unfulfilled potential written all over it. Nowhere.
Cheap, chaffy stuff, right? So you move them up and you charge the shooters with them.
Has to shoot
So either unleash hell on your Felbats,
or forgo the opportunity to unleash.
Or don't do it. And if they don't do it, they can't do anything else because they're within 3 of an enemy unit.
Yeah.
So basically, you charge your Felbats into their shooters first, then you charge your big stuff they want to shoot at into something else.
Yeah, got you. Nice.
If you fly and got a fast move, they're going to be really useful.
Aether wings as well.
Yeah.
Cheap.
And you know they're going to die, but you don't care because they're only there to stop the Unleash Hell hitting your main target. Because obviously they can't Unleash Hell on the Felbats and kill them, and then when the next unit Unleash Hell again, because you can't use it more than once and you can't do more than one on the same unit.
Cool.
So it's quite an interesting ability and it's very powerful. Because it allows
certain units that get dumped in front of your opponent are going to have a field day, aren't they?
Well, like you go, I'm going to alpha strike you, I'm going to drop from the sky and charge you, and you've set up your blob of shooters behind your wall of stuff that they're charging. Crack on. I'm going to unleash hell.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot you before you get to roll your attacks. And if you've got particularly potent shooting, that could do an awful lot of damage.
Some of the things that are short range but good are now going to get a little bit more time in the sun than they've had. So the Stormcast short range crossbows.
Yeah, the Hurricane crossbows, or the Bolt Storm crossbows, I think they're called.
Bolt Storms, yeah. I think they're only 18 or something. Yeah, didn't come into it much, but maybe they could do something now. Who knows?
Yeah, but any shooting, like even KO, just unleashing your pistol shots when they come in.
Yeah.
Like if you had a unit of 30 Arcanaut Company and they just charge you, I'm going to unleash hellfire on my pistols as you come in.
Finally, there's a reason to have pistols written on a war scroll. My God.
I mean, obviously, it's probably not as good as the guys sitting there with the Gatling guns and the bloody the bloody skyhooks shooting, but it's drill cannons is what the word I was looking for.
I'm still going to be jealous of skinks, I'm sure. Never mind.
Yeah, skinks, scary. Just get your Felbats out, mate. It's all good.
Absolutely.
I got some in little baggies, so I clipped them off the sprue and I put them in baggies because I got distracted. I'm not going to get to build them, and I was just bagging them up in little seedy bags. I was like, you're just there, like anyone want a Felbat? On a Felbat? Going to become good now.
Seen Marco painting and they look sick, so I'm tempted for that reason alone.
Yeah.
All right, then. So the shooting phase, the charge phase has changed quite a bit then with those two.
And technically, the charge phase got interesting because of the movement phase redeploy. So
yeah.
then we've got all out attack, all out defense. We've spoke about these already, but it's either +1 to hit or +1 to your save. Obviously, you can't stack them. It does say that you could only use them in the shooting phase and the fight in the combat phase. So when you do all out attack, okay, obviously you can't stack command abilities anyway, but if you do unleash hell on a unit, they can't actually do all out defense because it ain't the combat or the shooting phase.
Okay. Yeah.
So actually, although you're -1 to hit, if you've got a way to shoot in the hero phase, you can't buff that shooting, but they can't buff their defense either.
Yeah, this is the type of thing came into play for playing against daughters and stuff in the past, didn't it? With Marathi a lot of the time.
Yeah, and like Anvil's of Heldenhammer can shoot in the hero phase and things like that. I mean, so you can't get the bonus to hit either, but it's quite nice.
Yeah, interesting. Could be in your favour or not.
And it's the same with fighting in the hero phase.
Yeah.
So pretty good. Like
powerful abilities though. Add one to save. Your opponent doesn't get a say in that. Like that's really very, very good.
Where you use that is very important. Because obviously, like as you probably we'll do a video on the wizards, but Mystic Shield is also +1 save, so it's not reroll ones anymore. So you get +2 save. If you've got another ability that gives you bonuses to save, then you're then looking at +3 save.
Yeah, or
so you could go into
opponent's rend of 1 or something.
Rend 2, rend 1, nothing.
Yeah.
Rend 3, you're at odds. Rend 4 to be at -1 save. So if you've got a unit that's got like a 4+ save, let's look at the Vengorian Lord. Worse than the Rend if you're within 3. That's not a command ability. That's not a spell. That's just it. You get bonus save from Legion of Night if you death rattle first battle round. So you got +1 save. If you've had your go first, you could put all out defense on them. That's another +1. You can Mystic Shield them. That's another +1. Again, none of those are command abilities. So you're immediately looking good. Then you've also got like other things you can stack. So there's a lot of abilities in the game now that their stock will go up because a lot of times you look at it and go, well, it wasn't that important, but actually now it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we've got one more. The age-old favourite, Inspiring Presence. It does the same, but obviously champions can issue it. You then can only do it once per turn. So if you want to actually like not run away, you can't really issue Inspiring Presence on more than one unit. So you might want to spread your damage out across multiple units.
Yes.
If you're playing an army that's low bravery, they're going to really struggle to protect themselves from battle shock, which is quite a nice thing because it's horrible when everything's just immune.
Yeah, it's nice that it's going to be more in the game. And there are also quite a lot of ways to boost your own bravery available. It's just, I think people, or debuff opponents, both of them, but they're just not taken as frequently. Like the endless spells have buffs or debuffs. Faction spells frequently have them as well. So
yeah, I'm not sure you get any bonuses now for having big units. Just thinking. I'll have to check.
That might have done as well. But don't lose a load of dudes. Then remember that Archon gives you +2, and you've just never used it before or something like that.
Exactly.
Easily done at this point for sure.
And so like you, it's pretty good that you get to like actually interact with bravery a bit more, which I quite like. So
just trying to work out ways to write lists that poop CP. Like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Destruction might get another look in because they're always good at it.
You've also got stuff like the command ability, the trait, and you've also got the prayer. So you can get command abilities generically in every army by having a priest, by having a command trait that's, so we looked at those generic abilities. But command points are going to be super important, which makes things like Rod of Misrule and all the artifacts that give you command points going to be extremely good.
Yeah, and the D3 ones are going to be... I think a lot of people used to go for the guaranteed 1, but you know, or like, yeah, like a guaranteed or a 50% chance of one every turn, people go for that over the D3 at the start of the game. But there might be some armies that actually are like, well, no, if I get 3 at the start of the game, I can capitalize on that and just go crazy.
So that's all the information about command abilities in AOS3. Obviously, it's a big topic to go back through all those battle tomes and find all those little sweet abilities that are in your books. So have a lot of fun doing that. And obviously, when we do our faction updates, we'll talk about those. But I would say that it's a new era. It makes a huge difference how the game plays because it really is interactive. And command points so important.
I think destruction just benefited from quite a lot actually that we read in that section, just because of things they have within them and also things that caught them out. I think they're like a lot of things that caught destruction out. Now you will have an option that you've never had available to you before. So maybe your 15 brutes are gonna see a resurgence at some point soon. We'll see.
Yeah, who knows? And it sounds like the Cruel Boys are part of the Orc War clans, if you've read the article, which we revealed. So who knows what's going to be happening with that faction. So it might be quite interesting. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you all again soon. Like and subscribe, do the algorithm stuff. If you want to support us, join our Discord, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and leave a comment below of what you think and what ability you think's the coolest out of the new ones. All right, thanks for watching.
Good night, guys. Bye.
See ya.